Alright, video, I guess. Yeah, reluctant. Same old in some respects, probably. Anyway, so it's, this stupid holiday again, and it's exaggerated titling. A different kind of morality, ethics, from pure reason. I doubt it. He puts in capital letters. So reasoning to him doesn't have anything to do with facts. It just has to do with you just pick a truth, define a couple of things to be the truth. Humans are better, humans are more important, we're better, I'm superior, white people are better, whatever it be. And then you just define your ethics based on that group. Like what's a good social contract for your little group of superiors. So it's like the Nazi book of etiquette. I'm sure Nazis were polite, among Nazis. And he calls that pure reasoning. Idiot. Invitation to all lay philosophers to critique Kantian ethics. Well, the easy critique is he was trying to mold the God theory. Yeah. So anyway, we'll play this one. We won't bother with that one. He did make this video. I stopped watching shortly after he said something like, I found somebody else's video uninteresting or something. And thought, So I said, well, I found yours pretty uninteresting, so it's pretty stupid for me to watch yours either then. Something like that. And he did mention he's referencing something else. He didn't even point to whatever he was referencing. So who knows what the hell he was responding to. So it was just a useless video, I think. As is most of the gibberish that comes out of this stupid turd's mouth. So anyway, let's go to the videotape. Of course, we'll enhance the function.
Time for a reminder of how I think of morality and how I have a sense of morality. That's not quite true. Probably my academic sense of morality, and reasoned sense of morality, probably doesn't exactly match my actual morality. I'd say my actual morality is broader in the sense that I have ways of acting which
yes, are emotional rather than rational. Yes, like all people, probably.
I'm entirely covered by that. So, and that wider morality I have is frankly just a social convention.
So he's saying one is wider, and again he's saying that it's a social convention, which is exactly my argument. That it's a social convention among agreed upon fascists. Therefore, and that's called morality. So this is just, the simple example is aliens come to Earth, they're more intelligent, that means they can do calculus without using paper, and so therefore they declare themselves superior, say your feelings don't matter, and put you in concentration camps, fatten you up, and then kill you. Brutally. And that is pure reasoning. No, it's stupid. It's cruel and stupid.
And habit, and because of its cultural nature, it makes me feel good and whatever. Who knows what the reasons are, but there's probably no underlying objectivity to it. Right.
Yes, like the insane contradiction of loving your dog and killing a pig and eating it for breakfast. So what he's saying is the fact that he takes care of his dog is just silly. There's no reasoning to it whatsoever. His dog's welfare doesn't really matter, and you get tortured all you want and do medical experiments, do whatever the fuck you want. It's just a dumb animal, so therefore it's not worth anything. So anyway, I wrote down before this video the themes of reality, the facts of our life that this asshole won't go anywhere near. And the first one is we evolved here on planet Earth. We have a consciousness because it's a functional device. It's a CPU. It does stuff. And what it does is it feels and it thinks. And it does those two things. One, the feelings to create incentive and agenda, and the thinking to do calculating about outcomes and to find suitable ones. Now, dumb animals, okay, who don't realize other things are feeling, might do things that are really dumb calculations. Like they'll cause something else a great deal of pain to get what they want, like drunk driving or something. I mean, dumb animals would be drunk drivers. Smart animals would be, oh yeah, that's a bad thing to do. And the feeling thing is really where good and bad is created. and satisfied and unsatisfied. And that's the stuff that's being made here by feeling things and thinking things. So the consciousnesses are all the feeling and thinking things, and they have an overall experience, which is, they win or they lose kind of a thing in terms of maximizing the gain. They go on a vacation, everything goes well, and they have a nice time, or they go on a vacation, they get malaria, and they don't have a good time at all. So there's an efficiency to outcomes. And the outcome of like you backing your car over the neighbor's cat or something. There's outcomes.
Part of the problem of talking about morality is that everybody has a cultural understanding of it.
Again, they're irrelevant. Everybody has an understanding of it based on axioms they've had accepted. Now, for the majority of people on Earth right now, I suppose I don't know, 50-50 maybe. Eating animals is okay. And other people realize, no, that's cruel and stupid, and I'm not worth it.
And the answer that I'm going to offer you might not fit that cultural understanding, so you'll reject it.
Yeah, well, you won't get to a rational argument of reality. So this, again, you sit there and put pure reason in the title. There's so far, nothing about doing anything called purely reasonable logic here. Nothing fact-based.
The answer that I'll offer you will actually be to a different question.
The question is, am I okay? Well, that's all. That's the only question I need to ask. They're done with this morality thing, aren't we? Am I okay? Yep, I'm okay. Fuck you.
The question of morality, you may well say, oh, that's not a question of morality. In which case, you're left with two options, perhaps. You can reject what I'm about to say, flat.
Yes, because it won't have anything to do with facts. It won't have anything to do with the fact that we're on Earth, we evolved here. There's huge evidence indicating that's the fact. There's no evidence of three bears, Goldilocks, the Manchurian Candidate, whatever that may be. There's lots of things for which there's no real evidence that it ever really existed, or ever does exist, or ever will exist as a real thing. Tons of evidence, and one of those stories is, I'm a brain in a vat. I think, therefore I am. It's not that I arrive on Earth, I get hugely educated, and then I start thinking about being an am. No. I just instantly, the first thought that came to mind was, I think, therefore I am, and I don't know anything else. No other facts have been collected. Bullshit.
You can say... That is, you can say...
So you can't even get to it. His pure reason argument is such bullshit that he has to do all this preface to say, well, it won't look like pure reason, and it won't look like I included any of the facts of life, but it's purely reasonable. Trust me, Yeah, it's not fact-based. It's, fascist, Nazi empire-based.
Oh, I see what you're trying to do, but you failed. You've not answered the question that you set yourself, and the truth of the answer that you give.
Yeah, it's just a contrivance. That's right. He doesn't acknowledge the existence of anything in the material universe because no of the arrangements can have any properties that could possibly be of any significance. Everything is a Bic pen or a battery or a brick. Nothing has any kind of complex functionality that we must acknowledge the complexity and the attributes of that complexity, what it represents as a happening. That doesn't have to take place.
Is incorrect to that question. Or you can say, yes, you've delivered an answer and it's quite true to that question, but that isn't the question you're supposed to be asking. There are all these nuances to how you're most probably going to reject it.
I know, I'm going to reject it because it doesn't include any of the basic facts that have been part of my life for most of the time I have been conscious. It's just going to ignore the fact that I am conscious, that I experience good and bad sensations, that I know that torture is bad intrinsically. You never can make it a good thing. You can't put any makeup on that pig and make it fuckable. It just can't happen.
Because I've been talking about this for years on and off, trying to find a way to impart the truth.
Yes, so to impart the religious propaganda nonsense bullshit, the God theory, that enables me to be a selfish, fascist, gluttonous pigist.
That I saw in Kant's ethics.
Again, the very ethics that Kant wasn't satisfied with, thought he basically failed.
But Kant didn't really argue so much for it, other than say
it's a good social contract. Yes, it's all really nice to have this whole positive thing. You know, let's just have a positive ethics where I don't litter in your yard, you don't shit in my yard, and I don't shit in your yard, and we do that do unto others thing, and that'll take care of almost not very much. Because the real world is desperation and retardation and all kinds of crap for which you got to fix. Because that just isn't good enough. There has to be reward and punishment, and there has to be not making a mess, but there also has to be cleaning up messes.
A property, or it comes from pure reason. I don't know whether he meant comes from his reasoning, or is a property of reason itself, of logic and mathematics.
Yes, well, he calls it logic and mathematics, but again, you can't do logic and mathematics if you can't get the variables right. You can't understand, like I said, if you can't know what a 2 is, you certainly can't do 2 plus 2 if you can't get a 2 right. My opinion, stated just grotesquely, aggressively, is this idiot can't get the 2 that suffering sucks right. How the fuck can you do any math? You're fucking stillborn.
Either way, I kind of felt it to be instantly true.
So nothing. I mean, it's all this big talk, pure reasoning, and we're not getting any of that. We're getting pure rationalization and excuse making before he's even started.
So, and Kant has these formulations which aren't which can be very easily viewed the wrong way. They're actually tests to see.
Yeah, whitey be brighty. Yeah, what are his formulations? We be best. We're cooler. Yeah, brilliant.
If you're breaking the truth, the idea of one of his tests is can the maxim that you propose as a maxim of morality, can it be universalized? Now, though we clearly have a parallel going on to what goes on in pure reason, wherein I think at its fundamental level, pure reason is really mathematics, it's logic, and checking what...
Yes, well, what it is connecting dots, as I stated before. There's evidence in a trial, and you convict based on the evidence. That's a logical process. You don't convict somebody because you have a fantasy, okay, of an hey, I can imagine a invisible man doing it and wearing 14, Bruno Mali shoes and all that. Now I can fantasize it. And oh no, wait a minute, no, we're supposed to let the facts draw the picture, not my imagination draw the picture. But that's what draws the picture, the facts, the evidence. Now there's absolutely no evidence for his theory that knowing how to do calculus makes you feel more, makes your feelings more important. That the people who can do calculus feel richer and more magnificently, and their welfare is therefore much more important than the people who can't do calculus. And by people who can't do calculus, I mean the difference between a dog and a human being. Oh yes, human beings are smart. They can do calculations about what's going to happen in the future. But when it comes to screaming in pain, dogs can do it just as good as a human. And all this bullshit is just that. Fucking bullshit.
Can be said mathematically as regards morality. And this law is can it be universalized? And mathematicians always look to generalize to the extreme, find the maximum generalization they can state, and that is a kind of universalizing.
Yeah, well, you can do all that gibberish. What they're looking for are real numbers somewhere in the end. They want an equation that doesn't have vagary.
Logic talks about universals and particulars, and asks you to pay attention to when you're talking about particulars or when you're talking about universal claims.
Yeah, well, whatever. The particulars are in the universal scope, so again, you can't change the math for the individual frame. So this is just more almost like the physics parallel of I'm going to pretend I'm in a frame where I can warp everything to my satisfaction. No, that doesn't work. Your life is either going to suck or going to be good. It's going to be suck or good based on what happens to the rest of the world because of your existence. Did you leave it cleaner? Then you got it. That's always going to be the question. Did you do the others? Did you do the world a favor by being here, or were you a blight, a consuming motherfucking cunt who took the welfare of sentient organisms and destroyed it more than you produced anything that could be called worth it?
So, this is, I contend, and Kant would contend, a truth.
Well, you're going to talk for him now, Interesting.
From reason, from pure logic.
Yeah, he's going to get to something?
Now, what's his name? The critical thinker I like, Professor
Douchebag Libiotti.
Robert Paul, I can't remember. Anyhow, he says, in some of his lectures, he says, you can take a point of view, you can think of things as having a logic to them. I guess, I don't have any of his examples. He gives a lot of everyday, simple kind of examples, of which but, so, in a sense,
look, if you ultimately find what's really valuable, again, some of these calculations are always going to be difficult, but you can know that if you were looking in hindsight, you would have the right answer, right? So like spending money to fix the problem of malaria. You can spend money on symptoms, but you can know that, wait a minute, if you can cure the disease, say, with $3 billion worth of spending, and you spend $200 million a year on symptoms, you could end up spending many times the $300 billion, what it costs for a cure, over time. And so that would you could understand, okay, that's inefficient. Because we know the future's usually going to be much bigger than the present for sure. I mean, the next 10 years of human life compared to the next 1,000 years of human life, and the welfare enhancement that would be created if you could create a cure now. So the logic isn't fucked up. It's just that we don't have enough knowledge in our current position to know what the right investment is. Because, like I said before, if you spent the money on a cure and you don't find one, well, then all the people who were in pain you did nothing for. You did nothing to treat the pain and suffering. And so you left the world worse off. You wasted the money, quote unquote. But yeah, you can know that in hindsight, but it's hard to know it ahead of time. And that's the problem.
And the logic of morality.
By the way, so he keeps using the word morality, and as I've tried to point out, no intelligent person plays with this word morality. Morality implies a dogmatic description of an ethical code. You're trying to find ethics, and in my opinion, all you're really doing is trying to describe what's its value and how do we calculate the trade-offs. We know we're basically buying good for the price of bad. There'll be a certain amount of gasoline consumed for a certain amount of good travel accomplished. The bad is suffering. The good is comfort. And that's ethics or morality, is basically the ought is always dictated by the better outcome. That's what ought to happen. The maximized, most efficient product. If you were making refrigerators, you try to make the most efficient refrigerator. If you're trying to make a car, you try to make the most efficient car. You don't try to make something inefficient. You try to maximize its function. And to maximize our function is for us to leave the entire pool of sentient organisms on Earth in an enhanced condition for our function.
Right, so the first change or insight is to understand, is to put concretely your question. And in doing so, I find that morality concerns itself with interactions.
Effects.
With other, I'm trying to not get what I was going to say is the interactions between people. That will become a statement and a truth. But at the early stages, if you are inclined to be concerned about animals, you just most plainly say, what is the what is the truth about the what must be a fundamental truth about the interactions of sentient animals, let's say.
Yes, they can be squirming in pain and deprivation, they can be starving to death, they can be ill or sick, or they can be comfortable and healthy and functioning well, and it all kind of depends on having a system of distribution of resources and distribution of obligations that'll make that happen. Obligations both on the rich and the poor to behave in certain manners that are going to enhance the functionality of our overall civilization. We're all obligated to be a useful part of the machine, and if we're not, there's a rational obligation to clean off the mold and scrape off the blight and get rid of the rust. If you're a piece of rust on the machinery, somebody has a right to rub you off.
Now, this isn't to argue from nature. This is an argument from nature, but to make it more, to appeal to your intuition, to make it more palatable, that the change of perspective that I'm going to ask you to make.
So he still hasn't. Almost 9 minutes now. 9 minutes into this video, hasn't said a goddamn thing.
Suggest that, and this might not be true, but you could, in your mind's eye, imagine that this might be truth. That if something is such a hard truth about the interaction of sentient animals, then evolution would have had to...
Okay, so this is the dumbest remark ever made in the history of mankind. If this was important, evolution would have figured out a way to make us care. When obviously evolution is about making individual machines to take over the world. The idea is for me to make my genetic code, because it's so much fucking better than yours, to me to basically take over the species of humanity because I'm superior. That's the construction of these machines. They aren't constructed to live with other DNA molecules. They're constructed to kill the other DNA molecules and take over the world. That's what their mission statement is. And because the mission is impossible, okay, because the competition is so aggressive, that they'll never be able to accomplish. Well, they do obviously accomplish the task. I mean, most species are very stable, and they have weeded out, winnowed out, destroyed, killed zillions of manifestations that were a little or subtly different. And the blending of that norm, especially for herd animals, it's really hard for herd animals once they establish to change much, because you're competing against a huge dampening effect of the old DNA. So, we're back to punctuated equilibrium. So obviously this guy has absolutely no understanding of evolutionary theory. Absolutely none. Never. He cracked a Kant book, but he never cracked an evolution book.
And I'm speaking metaphorically, of course, but evolution would have had to have took regard of that truth. It would have had to have paid homage to that truth.
Well, again, why? Why would evolution care about sentience at all? It doesn't have a brain. It can't make the calculation. Evolution isn't conscious. It doesn't know that suffering is important. It doesn't know that satisfaction is important. It only thinks about how it thinks, metaphorically. The only thing considered in evolution is success and failure of a construct, of a design of a tank to go tank into the world. So again, he has no understanding of evolution whatsoever. Not zero. I mean, this is just evidence of a zero understanding of the process of evolution and DNA construction.
In some way. So if we find a truth from pure reason, see, I make this think, looking for truths on morality from pure reason, from things like looking at morality through values, because...
So the values of the DNA tanks, especially as they were in some original conditions, so the more we go backward and look at our native construction, that's where we'll find our ideal values. So when we did rape women and beat each other up and kill each other, murder each other routinely, individually, in our success battles, when Attila the Hun and all those people were set loose and did replicate at huge numbers, raped so many women, killed the husband, just raped the wife kind of deal, had so many children with, in a brutal manner, and essentially got their DNA code is still in the world because of it. This is probably enough of a video anyway. I mean, really, this is just fucking stupid. Alright, I'm back. Figure I might as well do this. It's raining outside. Gotta do some work out there, blah, 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 so might as well, whatever. Do a little more of this crap.
Values, and I've had various conversations and interactions, and I can't see a way in which values aren't prejudiced by the valuer.
So you can't see a way where you can just rationally understand that there's a planet Earth. Like, just do a thinking thing. Like, okay, let me just take me out of the picture. And let's just talk about what's happening on planet Earth. And what the value is that's being created on planet Earth. That we can't do that. We can't figure out what's in the best interest of society or something. Without even thinking about our own interests. Of course we can. We can understand its evolution. There's a bunch of consciousnesses. They're in a game where they're playing with each other's feelings and doing calculating. And the hope is to do calculating that isn't self-interested. Unlike a Donald Trump, to think about the society good rather than the personal goods. And you can construct policies like don't drink and drive or some other kind of policy because you understand that's good calculating. That works better. Society works better. You have rules about how fast you can drive on the road and whether you can make a left turn or some other kind of bullshit, and you figure it out because it makes the road work better. Less dead bodies, more efficiency. Efficiency. You can understand that concept. So again, just complete bullshit. A bullshit axiom. We can't understand efficiency equations. Yeah, we can.
Even where objective value is sought or believed in that could be derived, the destination in pointing to the objective value was prejudiced way back at the beginning of the...
Yeah, there's no prejudice. Like I say, if you were evaluating a colony of rats living in Ratville, you could make determinations about how you make your houses out of stuff that doesn't catch fire, and have a little fire department that can put out fires in case, and have an electrical grid that doesn't electrocute people and provides electricity efficiently, and you can figure out all that shit. Not that complicated.
Of the argument to make sure you arrived at what they wanted and what they already valued at by the inbuilt assumptions they wanted to put in there.
So he keeps saying this, as like I said, these are the same axioms, as somebody has pointed out. I mean, these are the same idiotic arguments he was making 5 years ago. He pays no attention to the counter-argument that that's just plainly not true, that it's really easy to separate ourselves from a particular circumstance, to look at somebody else's life and to say, gee, they're doing this wrong and that wrong. It's really easy to backseat drive. Really easy.
And it's hard to extract those assumptions and have something that you can rely on separate to the subjectivity of experience.
Well, again, the informing nature of being conscious. So yes, you're conscious, you understand, you're motivated by a bunch of personal desire, and you can certainly understand simple equations like, well, gee, what if my personal desire never was created? Well, then I wouldn't need to live, and I wouldn't need or want to do all this kind of stuff because I wouldn't have a wanter. And that would be the only crime. My wanter wouldn't be in prison somewhere. It wouldn't be in a concentration camp being tortured. It would just be that I wouldn't exist, and that wouldn't exactly be a harm to anything. Okay, it's a harm to the current person to imagine not being important, but it's not really vital in any important way. One of those days. Alright, leave us try again some more. Yeah.
Now, I forgot the most simple. That's it, prisoner's dilemma. Right, so, I state, and I've come to realise, that the mathematics of interactions well, at least between human beings, is game theory. And
all right, so I mean, it's just such a most of what intellectuals do has a higher purpose than some competition, and it's a system design. And you're really not saying, well, what's the advantage of the on-off switch versus the complexinator, and let's balance their work load and blah, 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 their advantage and disadvantage, and how they can game each other. No, that's not what people are thinking. So game theory has nothing to do with being an intelligent processor of a circumstance and asking what's the best outcome. We're on the lifeboat. We're not playing game theory when we talk as philosophers. So this is the irony of his next video, where he says, invitation for all lay philosophers to critique Kantian. He's saying Kantian has something to do with the prisoner's dilemma of competing interest and some notion of gaming the other person into doing what you win if they do. Bullshit.
Regardless of the game, the particular game.
And most of these games don't have any two-winner solution. The existence of rich people means you'll have poor people. Because, frankly, it's the only way you can make rich people. Is they have to exploit something, they have to underpay something, they have to take advantage of something and gain profit from their work. They have to take advantage.
And regardless of the simplicity or complexity of the game.
Regardless, I mean, that's a huge regardless, right? That some, again, they just, this is like Anacontavad's premises. These huge axiom statements just thrown out there like they're nothing facts. Oh, just this little, regardless of the complexity. Like, that doesn't mean anything. Of course it means something. Some answers are dirt simple. Some answers are incredibly difficult to ascertain the right answer.
There are always assumptions that mathematics makes as necessary and self-evident axiomatic assumptions.
Right, that 2 is 2, and that minus signs mean opposite of 2. That means you're in deficit. That means you have to pay it back, so to speak. You have to create a positive to compensate for it to get back to 0, or you're losing. So if you have negative numbers, they have to be fixed. He doesn't believe in negative numbers. It's arbitrary.
Parts of the game, what are there in the background? Now, there's Prisoner's Dilemma, where there's kind of a playoff between you and your buddy who are captured by the police, and you're offered enhancements for testifying against the other guy, or if you just both remain.
Right, well, you fuck the other guy first. That's all it comes down to. If you fuck first, you win.
Silent, harsher penalties, and so on and so forth. I can't remember the exact details of how the payoff table, but it's a 2x2.
I can't remember the exact details, but he's calling it the fundamental rationale for a construction of some sort of ethical theory, but he can't remember the details.
Table in which you fill it in based upon this background axiom
of what's in it for me. So again, he's saying a complex philosophical person, they don't do, this is what it is, right? A lay philosopher is a dope because he says things like, what's in it for me is childish. It's so fucking immature as an ethical construct. It's what kids do. It's not what grown-ups do.
And in this simple game, that background axiom is quite simply that it's in the simplicity of the working out the trade-offs, because it's really quite simple to fill in the box. You're filling in what he will do because of what you would do, because of the self-evident nature.
Like I say, but see, that's not the construction of ethics. Ethics is about people doing behaviors you wouldn't do. They're fundamentally or intrinsically hostile to other sentient beings. They're not good things. And so why would you negotiate with terrorists? So all you're saying is that somehow we have to negotiate with criminality or overt trespasses against decency. That somehow I have an obligation to negotiate with that. There's no such obligation. You pass a law and you throw them in jail. You don't pay federal taxes for 20 years and then pretend you have $9 billion when you obviously can't have more than $9 million, $900 million at the best. Yeah, then you're a fraud and a fake and a phony.
Nature of these easy decisions. And so you can I think it's a bit of an intractable, the actual prisoner's dilemma might be a bit of an intractable problem.
Well, it's not, but whatever. You know, it's really not intractable. There's winning strategies, but the win has to be that you don't give a fuck about who you're negotiating with. They're disposable.
But you can understand that there are people who would get put in a cell in a prisoner's dilemma, who would be dogmatic, who would just go with the gut reaction. They wouldn't try to reason at all, and they would just sit there and say, I don't grass, or I grass, I want the easiest time I can get.
Yeah, well, whatever. See, again, this is such a simplistic description of ethics. Ethics had nothing to do with us compromising with psycho killers or child molesters. We have no obligation to fucking have negotiation one with these people. We just tell them you can't do that, and if you do it, we're going to beat the shit out of you, metaphorically. You're going to be punished for it because it's a bad thing. We reward you for doing good things, giving babies candy. We punish you for stealing candy, that kind of thing. There's no negotiation with criminals.
Yeah. And then there was somebody who would actually try to think.
I mean, litterers. Why should we negotiate with somebody who wants to pour, toxic waste into the Great Lakes? Well, we don't need to negotiate anything. We just say that's wrong, and if you do it, we're going to kill you, you fuck.
About what to do. And in doing so, the only axiom that they can underpin, it's futile to play this prisoner dilemma, where you think the other guy is sat there dogmatically, patriotically, principled to his conviction and gut reaction that I don't grass. Presuming that you don't really know him that well to know, it's heads or tails. You can't play this game assuming that he's got one of the particular.
People play games all the time. People marry people for their money. They create deceptions and very creative ones to dupe people and to take advantage of people, and people do that all the time. People game people, not because they have equal negotiating power, because they have unequal negotiating power. And so this has nothing to do with a pure reasoning. Where's the pure reasoning in this mush?
Gut reactions. The only way this game makes sense is if you assume he's also playing the game. And so you get the game theoretic answers. Now, as I said,
yes. If you assume everyone's a liar, then you lie, everybody lies, and then what does that have to do with doing anything called adult philosophy? Oh, that's right, absolutely nothing.
Is a bad example. There's a great channel all about simplistic treatment of this kind of game theory. But there's also the hunter's dilemma, wherein there's a payoff. You either turn up to hunt rabbits, and you can be sure you can get enough rabbits to feed the family that week, or if you turn up to cooperate and hunt deer, where you need two people, you're going to have plentiful meals all week. And I think.
Okay, whatever. This has nothing to do with ethics. Do we understand? I mean, you can team up with a Nazi and we can kill the Americans, and then we'll kill the Japanese, right? I mean, okay, they were on our side, but yeah, they weren't really on our side. Or you could be like Patton. Yeah, we got through Europe. Well, the Russians are weak because they had to fight all those Nazis and help the world by fighting the Nazis. Let's take advantage of them and kill them too. That's ethics. Fuck you. That's not ethics, idiot. Oh, shit. That's not even a social contract. Fuck this nonsense. Fuck these silly titles. This is a silly fucking title. Silly. All right. now we're done.